What is wrong with you today?
Samir, Mr. AAA. Mel and Ellis had a deposition. McKay's treating people in the park. Fucking Langdon.
At some point, you and Langdon got to work this.
I don't want him here.
He made a mistake and he paid for it.
Did he? Did he go to jail? Because I let him get away with the crime. So what does that make me?
Human! Are you angry at him or are you angry at you?
Somebody could have died.
Oh, it's the ED. Somebody's always
Go ahead,
dying.
make jokes. Make jokes instead of acknowledging.
He didn't kill anybody.
That we know of.
And he saved a lot of lives that we do know of. Our kids disappoint us sometimes.
Langdon is not a kid.
No, but he's your guy and you're taking it personally. Langdon fucked up and you think that makes you look bad, but it's on him.
How am I supposed to leave this place when it's a shit show?
First you can't stay, now you can't go. What is it, Rabinovich?
No, I'm going. I just thought I could leave it a little better when I did.
Oh, don't be such a martyr. This place is always teetering on the brink of disaster, with or without you. We do it every night, every day off. This place is bringing to one person. It survived without Adamson, it survived without me, and it'll survive without you.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky, and I have a super head congestion, so sorry if I sound like B. Arthur.
I'm Mandy, and I just naturally sound like B. Arthur. Nothing wrong with me. That's just how God made me.
And I'm Penny, and I don't have a qualifier on how I sound.
Isn't she lovely? That's how you sound, Penny.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you.
So today we are covering HBO Max's hit show, The Pitt Season 2, Episode 12, titled 6 p.m. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, just come back and check us out once you're done. And before we get into episode 12, we got some really great feedback on our episode 11 coverage. Penny, you want to start us off?
Sure. This came in via our What's On Tonight Facebook page, and it's from our good buddy Kelsey, who says, "Hey, lovelies, you were confused about the Roberto guy and where the baseball went. He was supporting his hurt arm with his unhurt arm, which is why they put him in the sling so he could hold the ball on the non-injured side."
Gotcha.
That was one of the most beautiful pieces of feedback I've ever read, because I still was thinking about that. And I should have known Kelsey, my sports friend, would jump in and give us the lowdown.
Yeah, I appreciate it because it kept me from having to go back and hunt for that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to go back and watch that episode again.
That was too much.
These episodes are intense.
They are, man. Whew, I'll break you down. All right, and via YouTube, at Psycho Jack says, haha, I have had this handle since high school circa 2003, and I feel old. My BFF and I had nicknames. Jax was short for Jacqueline, and hers was capital B, little a, capital M, which is her initials. The Psycho is because I was an angsty 2000s emos kid and thought it was edgy.
Well, I think we need to do credit to that. I'm pretty sure that her friend's name was Bam.
Bam, bam. Who was it that
Yeah.
did that?
It was the Emerald Lagasse, wasn't it? It was one of the TV chefs. I think it was Emerald.
Yeah, I think it was Emerald. He would say bam when he added spices to things.
Yeah.
Psycho Jacks, my initials are RAW, and I used to be a big wrestling fan, so I used to always be like, Raw is Mandy. And I always secretly say that in my head
Oh,
when I
that's
write it
like
down.
the cutest thing you've ever told me about you. I love these podcasts where I learn about my friend of 400 years. It's very exciting.
407. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Psycho Jax goes on to say, and then in college, I majored in psychology, so it worked out, and I've kept using it. It's my @ across all the platforms and gamers tag LOL. I love that. Thank you for answering our question and how you got such a fun handle.
You will never convince me now that you didn't write your own destiny and be like, well, now I've got to be a psychologist because I've got the name.
I like that I immediately went to like crazy. Like me, I would be Psycho Becky, but not because I had anything to do with psychiatry. It's because I'm just crazy. So I like it.
True that.
Thanks for backing me up there, Mandy. I love you. All right. And she goes on to talk about it 2638 on our podcast. She says, personally, I did not like the Langdon apology. Neither did I, mostly because it was not a real apology. There were a lot
Yes.
of excuses and poor me's. I agree. When she didn't accept it, he immediately got defensive, which is not the point of an apology. But more than anything, the fact that he didn't thank her for doing, yes, the hard thing, but ultimately what he actually needed shows that he still does not think he actually did anything wrong. This is all just performative so that he keeps his license. I don't completely agree with that, but
I
it's
agree
okay.
so much.
I know you do. I could tell by your feedback last week. I was like, Penny is going to be on board with this. He's not actually in recovery because deep down he doesn't think he's an addict. And the first step of AA is admitting honestly that you have a problem. It's clear the only thing he learned is how to do better at faking it.
I'm kind of in the middle. I think he's not fully on board yet with completely understanding exactly how dangerous what he did was, or taking complete responsibility for how he put people's lives at danger and what he did to Santos and all that. But I think he's in recovery. I just think he's got a long way to go.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Oh man, another great episode. Oh, you ladies are my favorite Pitt recap channel. Thank
Aw.
you so much. I wish I could actually talk with you guys. I love your takes and interpretations. We would have some great discussions. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'm excited to hear what you say about episode 12. And in parentheses, I just watched it with the zipper across the mouth emoji. That was awesome, Psycho Jax. Thank you. And
If you get to Nashville,
yeah, we would love to chat, man. That would be a lot of fun. So please keep writing in. Your feedback is amazing.
and at Linda 1541.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. She says, I love your idea of Mel and Santos possibly becoming friends and watching the fireworks together. Aw, I do think the fireworks will be significant at the end. Ooh, yeah, me too, but I hope it's significant in like a, whoo, we can all relax way, and not a, oh my God, the fireworks set the hospital on fire way.
I hope it's like the park last season.
Yes. Yes, that would be
I'm just
nice.
picturing the hospital in flames now. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
like, I mean, like metaphorically, it already is. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda added on our interview with Mara Klein. Great interview, ladies. A fun watch on Amazon Prime is a documentary about actors trying to get into acting in Hollywood. They're all staying in an old hotel. There's a lot of craziness going on. It's a fun watch. It's called Camp Hollywood. It's an old show, but I know you'd love it. We'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it sounds like
sounds
fun.
good.
Penny covers Still Slang, which she'll get into later, and you've heard me talk about a lot. And we're getting into the Angel episodes where they go to the hotel.
Yeah, that's soon.
I went ahead and watched that episode I'm coming on for to be ready, just to cook my mind a little bit. And I was like, oh, this is my favorite part. And when she said that about the Hollywood hotel, it made me think of that. Sorry.
Yeah. I love that old Hollywood architecture too. It's so beautiful.
It is. Thank you, Linda. And Rebecca, which I would like to say is a phenomenal name, wrote via email. Hi, Becky and Mandy. I know you've been looking for details on casting, and I was listening to a Fresh Air podcast that had Noah Wyle as a guest. It's at the 59-minute mark where he talks a bit about the casting process, calling it laborious. Perhaps you've heard it already, but if not, it might be interesting to you. Thank you for the podcast. Best, Rebecca. I have that loaded in my Spotify so that I can listen to it when I'm driving back to East Tennessee this week. So thank you for that recommendation.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to it while I'm working. I'm always looking for stuff that I can have on while I'm typing away at work. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week.
Awesome.
And more Noah Wyle voice is never a bad thing.
No, it's not bad at all.
We also got a voicemail from Ginger, which is one of my favorite names because before I turned gray, was a redhead. Let's hear her thoughts.
Hi, Becky and Mandy. It's Ginger here.
Oh my God, the
I
accent.
just thought I would give you some of my thoughts on what you were discussing regarding why people will have to stay late this time. My sister and I have discussed that throughout the series. Last year they had the masquerade, as you said. What's going to be the reason this year? Because they're hardly going to pull the same kind of situation. So, been discussing it the last couple of weeks. I think that we may have a combination of some people staying on late and some people leaving is my prediction. So we may get certain people that aren't there for the last couple of episodes, if they're going to be realistic about the way shifts change, and if we're not going to have another mass casualty that has all hands on deck. We already have the analog thing going on, and extra troops have been called in for that, but it surely won't be everybody that stays. That's my prediction. We have Dana, who has said she would cover until they can find somebody else to come in. Like you girls said, I hope she doesn't think she can pull another 12 or 13-hour shift. That would not be good. But she does have her excuse to be there a couple of extra hours. Got Santos, who I think her reason for being there extra will be that she's catching up on charting. I think that's probably a pretty obvious one. I feel like Dr. Al-Hashimi is getting ready to leave at the normal shift ending time, because she was asking Dana about how Robbie handles end of shift and handover. So it seems like her character is at least preparing to leave on time. Got Mel King, who did take presumably an hour off for a deposition. So I'm assuming she will work an extra hour on her shift because of that. Then we've got the still photos from this week, which by the time you hear this that episode will have aired. That's tomorrow night. The still photos show Mateo returning, which the show people had said he would return around episode 12 or 13. So we've got him coming in. As for some of the others, I feel like they might actually have some of them going home on time this time. And then we get a blend. We get the likes of Abbott and Dr. Ellis coming back in. But then we've got this Javardi surprise party that's been mentioned repeatedly near the start of the season. So I wonder if people will stay on and hang around for that. So those are my thoughts on that. I also wanted to mention that in this last episode, which you've already podcasted on, episode 11, Princess was missing for the entire episode, and that is unusual. For I don't believe they had any last season where a main character was missing for a whole episode without a reason, like we had Mel King with the deposition. But the X-ray tech was missing for that entire episode too.
Oh my God.
So that's all I'm going to say on that. Use your imagination.
Girl.
Princess is up too. Those are some of my thoughts as far as how they're going to do the people staying on extra thing. I do also still feel that something really important is going to happen with baby Jane Doe, because they have never failed to mention her. She has been mentioned in every single episode, even though we haven't seen her for a couple of episodes. They make sure to make a mention of her in every episode and that she's still there. So I do feel like something important is still going to happen with that before the end of the season. Anyway, that's my thoughts, and thanks for letting me waffle on, as we would say here in Ireland.
I love that so much, Ginger. Your accent is phenomenal.
Yeah, and she's right, because Joy Kwan, she yeeted right out of there.
Yeah, she does, but I don't, because we're going to get into that later. I can't wait to talk about that. But we already did see that Joy left. I want to tell you, though, Ginger, that your accent, your tonality, all of it sounds like my friend Karen, who's Irish, who is the one that taught me what "see you next Tuesday" meant in abbreviation. Anyway, one night we're having people over, but we had gone to bed because we were at our in-laws. They're still up partying, and Eric and my husband, are in the other room, and I can hear her in there because somebody was coming late, and she's going, "Oh, she's a see you next Tuesday." Was deeply confusing because I'd never heard that at the time. It was one of the great cuss words of my life that I have acquired now. So
That's funny.
Go Irish.
All right, Penny, giving us some really good feedback throughout the season, but you want to just kind of summarize what your thoughts are in the season before we dive into episode 12?
Sure. So season 1, I was really busy when it was airing, and I ended up binging it after it was complete. This time around, because I loved season 1, I was like, I got to make time and make sure I'm watching the Pitt like the second it drops. And I am really enjoying the viewing experience, because going week to week gives you all this time to sort of ruminate and bond with the characters. And I love season 2 for that reason. Season 1 was great, but season 2 for me has been better. and identify so strongly with some of these characters that sometimes the viewing experience for me is like an emotional catharsis. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so good to see. Like I went through some pretty serious professional burnout several years ago. So watching Robbie and now Dana exhibiting all these things that I exhibited back then, like it's been almost like, I don't know, validating or something to see it on screen. And, you know, you always want to see yourself in Noah Wiley, right? You're like, I'm just like him. It's been really, I love the show. I love it. I've been talking to everybody about it. Like everywhere I go, sometime I'm like, hey, are you watching The Pitt? Like I bring it up constantly. There's so many people who are like, I know, I'll get to it. I know, because they're just like tired of having me talk about it. I had this one really funny interaction with one of my best friends. He's texting me and he was like, I don't know about The Pitt season 2. And I was like, why? What? You know what? And he's like, just last night's episode, it just ended. It just ended with this huge cliffhanger. And now we have to wait for season 3. And I was like, no, there's 3 more episodes in the season, man. And he was like, oh.
That's hilarious.
It was
I told
really
Penny,
funny.
I saw other people saying that online too, which cracked me up.
Yeah, I was like, no, there's more episodes, and he was like, oh, he's like, I binged season 1, and I thought I was done, and I was like, yeah, okay. He's all in too. He loves it. He's
That's
like, thank you
great.
for pushing me to watch this show.
Well, good. Tell him to check out our pod and send us some feedback.
Yeah, I will.
And a huge thank you, Penny, for joining us for this episode. We have been very, very excited to talk to you about it.
I'm so excited to talk about it. As you can tell, I've been talking to everybody about it, so it's good to have some people who are equally invested.
Sweet. Well, thank you all so much for the feedback. As we said last week, this has become our favorite part, is hearing what y'all think about our discussions on the episode. So please keep doing that. It's a lot of fun. So let's head on to episode 12 now. This episode was written by Danny Hogan and R. Scott Gemmell and directed by Amanda Marsalis.
The synopsis for this episode: Dana saves Emma from an attacker, possibly by illegal means. Al-Hashemi witnesses a shocking exchange between Langdon and Santos. Robbie delays leaving for his sabbatical until Duke's CT results return. Mohan and Mel treat an elderly couple after an accident. The Pit prepares to go back online, and diabetic patient Orlando is back in the pit.
Oh my gosh, this episode, man. For it to be a slower episode, I feel like so much happened. So just a couple of main points and then the rest are chart notes. But the first main point I have here is Mom and Dad are mad. This whole progression with Dana and Robbie throughout the episode was some of the best writing and acting I think I've ever seen in a television show. And I would like to take some time to discuss that with y'all and get your thoughts on it as it progressed. So we'll just start with where we picked up from the last episode, and that's Emma in a headlock, and Dana, man, Mama Bear came
No
out,
hesitation,
not
full
one.
force.
Yeah. And I appreciate that they didn't actually show us what was happening in the room. They did it from Robbie's perspective instead of showing it from Dana's perspective, which I liked, because that leaves that question of, well, what really did happen? Did she do something she wasn't supposed to do? Which I don't care if she did or not. She did what she needed to do, and I'm here for it. And then just that nasty mark on Emma's neck broke my heart. And then we get into Dana versus Robbie round 1. And Robbie is questioning her. He's not dumb. He knows she did something she wasn't supposed to, but she gives 0 fucks of what he thinks. And she told him a story that she was on her way to waste the Versed, and that's not really what happened. And I thought it was really sad and sweet also when Robbie was asking them both what happened. And it's like, I don't know, man, I was in a headlock. I didn't see.
Yeah.
She's not going to rat out Dana.
No,
And I love
Dana
that.
maybe saved her life, you know?
For sure. She for sure did. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think Emma has plausible deniability. She honestly may not have seen anything if she was in a headlock, but I also don't think she would have ratted out Dana. But I think Dana is very clearly, there's a line from Kings of Comedy, and Cedric the Entertainer said that there are 2 different people in the world. There's people that live by the hope factor and the wish factor. And like the hope factor is like, oh gosh, relate to this play. I hope nobody's in our seats. And then there's the wish factor, which is I wish a motherfucker would be in our seats. Dana is living by the wish factor. She's been carrying that Versette around, wanting a do-over with Doug Driscoll this whole season. And I wrote down Dana is me in this political climate. Like, she is just ready to go off on somebody.
Yeah, it's funny because I rewatched some of season 1, and when Driscoll clocked her at the end of season 1 or towards the end of season 1, he blindsided her. No amount of having Versette in her pocket would have done anything.
Yeah.
She was completely blindsided by that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand, after experiencing a trauma, trying to prepare yourself for any eventuality going forward. It's
Yeah.
interesting because Emma is clearly like this younger, newer version of Dana. Like, Dana sees herself in her and she's like, you have to press charges. You have to talk to the police.
Wasn't
right
that
now.
interesting? This was a
Yeah.
whole episode of do what she knows. She accused Robbie of do what I say, not as I do, which is ironic because she's doing exactly the same thing. They're two sides of one coin.
Yeah, but I think Dana's doing it more from a I wish I would have situation.
For sure.
Not Robbie is just in complete, absolute fucking denial that he's losing his shit. I think yes, it is the same.
I think Robbie knows he's losing his shit. I think he knows that he is barely contained, and that's why he's counting the minutes until he leaves, because he's like, I'm going to crash. Maybe I could keep it going until I crash. I got to go. I got to get out of here until I crash, before I crash. Like, he is really aware that he is one event away from a complete meltdown. And that's why he's so unbelievably hostile all the time, because he's just trying to keep it together so hard.
I don't know if I agree that, because well, it's not that I disagree. I just think that after I saw some discussion online, I didn't just come up with this, that intrigued me. Perhaps Robbie is actually going to check himself in somewhere to get help. And he's just trying to get through this shift because he is aware that he is barely hanging on by very teensy tips of his fingernails.
So the motorcycle trip could be like
just
a cover.
Red herring. Yeah. Or what everybody has been afraid of and what Dana flat out tells him, which is you are literally begging for death. And that seems to be the more obvious answer to what's going on, in which case I think, yes, he does know he's about to crash, but he also knows he's got something very dark planned for himself. And that's why he's trying to get out.
But he doesn't want to crash at work, because the one thing that he is super proud of is this is one of the best EDs in the department, right? He yells at Al Hashimi about it because he's like, don't mess up my legacy, basically.
Yeah, that's the one thing he feels like he's got going for himself, I think.
Continuing on with their first fight, I really did not think Robbie handled it well. His response to talking to Dana about what happened, and Dana's response, don't worry about it, we got this. And Robbie's, no, there is no we, you need to pass this patient off and report him. This is my ED and I'm telling you to pass it off. And that Dana just snapped. And she said, these are my nurses and I choose what cases they work. And if you think for 1 minute I'm putting anyone else from my staff at risk with that asshole, you better give your head a fucking shake. And I was like raising my fist in the air for Dana.
I love that phrase, give your head a shake. I thought that was awesome. And I'm going to add it to my repertoire immediately. Becky, this is why I think Dana is more do what I say, not as I do still. I do think she regrets not pressing charges against Doug Driscoll, but I also think that she is just as bad as Robbie in certain situations of putting herself into places that she wouldn't put someone else. That is a perfect example of that. She won't let her nurses take that risk, but she'll put herself in that place over and over and over again. And she keeps like shoving her emotions down, going to fall apart in the bathroom, but she's pushing for her nurses to set healthy boundaries, telling Emma to try to get her to leave, telling her to go ahead and go on home. And meanwhile, she's picking up extra hours so that, what's the night shift nurse?
Lena.
So that Lena can go home. So she's not taking good care of herself either.
I kind of disagree, because we know after last season, Dana took like a 9-month sabbatical. She took time off. she was ready. She was walking away. She took time off. Yeah, she came back, but I don't think that what she's doing is as severe as Robbie. I cannot see them as apples to apples. I feel like it's two very different situations.
She's a narrative foil, right? Like Robbie is the main character of the show. And I think that Dana is his like mirror character or mirror self.
That's how I see it.
She's displaying like a different flavor of the same qualities that he's displaying. And it's so that we have a comparison for these two important characters.
Like, I think Dana, it feels like to me, is more self-aware that she has unhealthy habits than Robbie is. I see like her not smoking the cigarettes as a metaphor. The beginning of this season, Dana is just carrying around the unlit cigarette, and you see she's trying to do the gum and all of that. And by episode 11 or 12 or whatever, she's out there smoking in the ambulance bay again. So she took that time off, but I'm just not sure that it gave her as many. I don't think she's as on the edge as Robbie is, but I don't think that it would take a whole lot to get her there either.
Yeah.
To me, she seems like she has a little bit more self-awareness, but they just seem like two sides of the same coin to me.
I think so. And I think Robbie also suffers a little bit from, he has been one of the smartest people in every room he's been in his whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who got really good grades in school. He was probably the captain of some kind of sports team. He probably got into a really good college. Like, he has always been able to handle everything that came at him. And he sort of assumes that he also is on top of this.
Yeah.
And he thinks, I'm smart enough to work this out on my own. I don't need help. One of my favorite podcasters who does a mental health podcast says you can't think your way out of a mental problem, but a lot of very smart people think that they can.
I mean, I don't want to call myself very smart, but that's literally my whole, like, it took me a very long time to realize that it is not my job to ruminate over every horrible thing that could potentially happen in the world. I used to feel like I had to be glued to the news 24/7. Because if you weren't doing that, then you were hiding your head in the sand. And it took me until almost 50 to realize that is not my job. It's an impossible task. It's like counting grains of rice. It's just never going to help the world, and it's only going to hurt you.
Yeah.
I agree.
So the second argument, Robbie wants to talk, and Dana's like, and he starts whining. I don't even remember what he was whining about, but she's like, tell it to someone who cares. Then he immediately goes on the defense for chastising her for doing something. And she did do something wrong. I get that. But I like where she said, anyone else does that and they're a hero. A nurse does it and they get punished. And that is a very unfortunate problem in healthcare is, yeah, you look at, not it's the same situation, but you look at what ICE is out here doing on the streets to unarmed
protesters, civilians, people who just happen to be there.
Yeah, they're abusing people.
Grandmas, toddlers.
Yeah. And then you get these people who are literally putting their lives on the line every day in a hospital, and they are often attacked, usually killed. One of our friends, our very close friends, works in psychology, and there was something they sent out after a gentleman, a therapist, was shot and killed. And emails went out about how you need to de-escalate situations. Well, there isn't how you can't de-escalate against a gun. And, Dana defended her nurse and herself the best way she knew how. And she could be losing her career over it. And I just think there is something wrong. And I'm glad that they gave her that line to say, because that is something that attention needs to be brought to, because it is a huge problem.
They're also very understaffed for the needs that we have seen on these 2 seasons of the show. The ED is constantly operating at maximum effort. And the nurses are spread thinner than they should be, in my opinion. And it means that first day on the job, Nurse Emma was alone in a room with someone who was known to be violent. And that's not how that should have been.
Yeah. Straight up dropped the ball on that one.
I honestly, this is why I shouldn't be in healthcare. I saw some chatter again about this online with people saying, you know, that Dana was in the wrong and that what she did was unethical. Screw it. I see nothing wrong with it. Frankly, I think they should have. We want to give guns to teachers in the classroom, but we don't want this woman to have a way to protect herself when she's got to be alone with sometimes violent, out of control people. Screw that.
Yeah. Like,
I have
so she
no
elbowed
problem
him
with
in
what
the
she did.
nose. Like, he had it coming.
Right. He was assaulting someone. What are you supposed to do? And then
Right.
Robbie's big, this can move into the next point where he continues to want to chat and she doesn't, and she lets it out how sick she is of nurses being used as punching bags. Jesse's been arrested, and I wrote here in my notes, it's 1999 again. And she's right. It's become too much. And then Robbie says, "You're not yourself today." And I was like, oh my God, so many times in this episode, pot me kettle, pot me kettle,
Yeah.
pot me kettle, because he is trying to chastise her. And I wrote in my notes, read the room, Robbie, because he's to know her so well and to have the relationship that they have. And that's one of the things I love the most about their confrontations from start to finish, is it's very unlike the Dana and Robbie we've come to know. So we're getting to see, I think, a bit deeper into their friendship and workship, or however you want to look at it, that they aren't as aligned as I think they are, or
As they have been in the past.
Yes, like things have changed. Like whatever we started seeing in season 1 last year, especially after Dana was assaulted, I feel like it's been a shift in their relationship. So I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You are. I think the content of the things that Robbie was trying to say are, for the most part, correct. Like, her having that syringe in her pocket could cost her job. They are going to face some kind of, who knows, everything ranging
Questions.
from like a lawsuit to just questions, harassment, bureaucratic nightmare, whatever, as a result of this event. He's right about all that stuff. But his delivery, because he is constantly on the edge of a complete meltdown, is abysmal. And
Right.
he also went after her when she was still in the full heat of emotion about what just happened.
Well, it's just the hypocrisy. It's right message, wrong messenger.
I said it last week. Robbie is the diction. If you look up the phrase, "it's not what you say, it's how you say it," in the dictionary, Robbie's head is right there, because he does have good sage advice often for his staff and these students, but the way he comes out with it is bullshit. And we'll get to that later when we get into Mohan.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to Virginia, who wrote in last week and pointed out the name of the place of where Robbie's going, and they brought it up in this episode. And so I just wanted to give her a shout out.
What is the actual name? Because Dana said like a close name, like Smash Me in the Head.
It's Buffalo Head Smashed in State Park.
I think that's right, Mandy.
What an intense name.
Yeah, it's Buffalo Head Smashed in Jump in Alberta, Canada. One of the overarching themes of this season is just about how the horrible infrastructure of our healthcare system is what is slowly destroying these doctors' mental health. And you mentioned, Penny, the short-staffed part of it. And later on, we're going to get in talking about, I think Whitaker talking about the closing of the rural hospitals. This is all about the fact that our healthcare system is being run to maximize profits for already incredibly wealthy people. Yeah. That is the primary function of our healthcare system, has gone from providing the best healthcare and keeping our population as healthy as possible, which makes financial and quality of life sense for everyone in the long run, for the most people, to it being about making a very small handful of people incrementally wealthier at the expense of thousands of healthcare professionals and patients.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's become about money, and it stopped becoming about making sure people are healthy, both mentally and physically, be it in the caregiver role or in the person receiving care. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
I again go back to these people, and I've seen a lot of this online, who are like, why does the Pitt have to make a political point? And they'll pull out one particular thing and be like, why'd they have to go here and make
Right.
it political? And I'm like, the entire show is political. Almost every storyline is political. Because it's a lot about what you're just saying. The healthcare system is messed up from top to bottom. There's so many problems with the way that healthcare is delivered, the profit motive, the understaffing, this who deserves care and who doesn't deserve care, as if that matters. Like, there's so many
Right.
things. And the incremental parts about it, like about how insurance isn't available, and like the poor guy that we see at the end of the episode who like was too afraid to run up more debt to get proper care.
Yeah. Healthcare is I think their primary motivation is to advocate for healthcare workers in this country. But in the process of that, you have to expose how all of the rot in our society comes to play in what is making the healthcare crisis in America worse.
Yeah.
The closure of the rural hospitals is heartbreaking. I mean, we're not there yet, but like the fact that that kid had to drive his dad possibly dying next to him for like an hour in the truck was I can't even imagine the trauma.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into the final round of Dana v. Robbie, I want to talk a little about Dana, Langdon, and McKay. I think McKay was precious with Emma, and I love how Emma was strong and said that she wanted to stay and finish her shift. And Dana looked so proud. I really, really hope we get to see Letitia back next season because she's added so much. This
Yeah.
cast is already amazing, and how they keep finding these young people to come in and add even more to an already amazing show just blows my mind. And I appreciate Langdon giving Dana reassurance that she did what she needed to do with that drunk, coked up asshole.
Yeah.
And he can clearly see she's not peachy. But I wanted to ask y'all, after that conversation, the camera shifts over to Robbie. He's in the room where Dante is, and he's looking out. Was he clocking that conversation between Langdon and Dana?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did take it that way, that he's just like, it's another one of those ear hustling Robbie moments.
Yeah. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked seeing anyone being okay with Langdon. I think he wants, I don't know. We'll get more into that later. Anyway, the best part of this entire episode is when Dana came and slammed that dude's blood work results up on the door, and McKay is like, Jesus. And I was like, Catherine Lanasa has pulled off some Emmy-winning performances already so far this season, but this, from the bathroom scene to this, and to her manifesting this simmering anger that just pulls over here in a few minutes, it was crazy. I like that they put McKay with this asshole because she's calm, but she says what needs to be said. And he, of course, is trying to say he doesn't remember anything. And everyone, instead of worrying about Emma and Dana and what they went through, is worried that this guy is going to have some kind of traumatic injury from the fact that Dana clocked him and gave him drugs because he was assaulting someone. And that's what everybody's worried about.
I hate him so much. The way that he shifted immediately to, I'm going to sue all of you. You're all going to be in so much trouble. I feel like we've all met this guy, right?
Yeah.
This guy who, it's all his own fault. He's the one who drank and did cocaine. He's the one who got belligerent. He's the one who attacked Emma. And then he's all like, you're going to pay for this. And then he says allegedly attacked Emma. And I'm like, dude, so many people saw it.
You're fucked.
But he's a rich guy.
Yeah, he genuinely thought he was going to get out of it because of his privilege. And when McKay explains the reality of the situation, we saw who he really was. And that is a entitled asshole who obviously has not often been held accountable for his behavior. Because you cannot tell me this is the first time that this has happened.
Yeah.
No.
I loved, one of the things I love about, man, I love McKay. She's just great. And I loved how she clearly relished being the one to tell him he was going to have to face consequences. But you could see her like stop and be like, oh, I hate this guy. And then turn around and try to do what she thought was the right thing, which was try to offer him some information about rehab. And he, of course, just threw it back in her face. But it just speaks so much to her character. And what's her, Fiona Dorff's, as an actress, just like her facial expressions that just said like, fuck this guy, I'm done. But then just like stopping herself and being like, shit, I'm a doctor and I have to do the right thing and at least try to tell this dickhead he can get some rehab help.
She just said to Ogilvy, was it last episode or 2 episodes ago? Like, it's our job to heal, not to judge. And
Yeah.
I felt like her own words were in her head in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love her.
She is. All right, so round 4, Dana is outside and Robbie comes out there to find her. And I really thought this was more great writing and acting. So he's continuing to lecture Dana about how she could lose her license. And he did accurately call out that she's been carrying that around in case Doug Driscoll ever came back. And she's justifying it by saying she did what she had to do. And thanks to that, now a nurse gets to go home. And she'll have McKay sign the order. And I love that Robbie said, I'll sign it. I'll sign another one for you to have when I'm gone. He's not against nurse safety, but he says he's looking out for her because she's supposed to be the person holding the ED together while he's gone. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. That was bad. And I liked the conversation that led to, where he shows his arrogance twice in this episode. He shows it here with her. And then he's once again saying, he starts this shit with Langdon again. And Dana's like, what is your problem? And he starts listing all the things that have gone wrong in the shift. And when he gets to Langdon, I put here in my notes, that's when the fireworks start. She has had it up to so far above her head with Langdon, not Langdon as Langdon, the doctor, Robbie towards Langdon. And she's right. He's got to figure it out. And Robbie finally lets it out that he doesn't want, he let Langdon get away with the crime and he's not feeling good about that. And I love that Dana, he's like, what does that say about me? And she's like, it means you're human. You cared about him and you wanted to help him and you did it the best way you know how. But it all kept circling back to his arrogance. This is about Robbie. Robbie doesn't seem to, in my opinion, give a shit how Langdon's rehab is going. He does not give, it's like a switch flipped. And it's like he went from caring about Langdon and trying to help him to, well, now that Langdon's here and he has to face the fact that maybe he didn't, I don't know. It was very, I don't know. It just seemed like it's not about anybody else. And Dana tells him he's acting like a martyr. And I loved her smackdown when she says, this place survived without Adamson and it will survive without me or you. And then she's gone.
Yeah, mic drop moment for Dana.
So I'm going to let you go, Penny, because I don't want to, because I'm going to tag in when you're done.
I think that Robbie gave up on Langdon last season when he was like, leave, go home, like
then
get out of here.
It's like with Santos, if you wanted him to get arrested, why the fuck didn't you do that? But now everybody's mad at Langdon because you gave him this opportunity. What did you expect?
I don't think he knew that he was going to still be angry about it 10 months later.
Exactly. I don't think he knew that these emotions and things you just can't. Okay.
And I also think that Robbie, like we talked about earlier, this ED is Robbie's entire identity, right?
That's it.
You are so freaking right.
The thing that makes him angry and the thing that makes him abuse people is when they make mistakes that could reflect badly on the ED. It's a threat to his identity and his ego. It's like an existential threat.
Yes, his identity is all this emergency department. He has nothing. He has no family. Seemingly, he doesn't have any real relationships. He doesn't have a great relationship with the stepkid that he had, apparently. Like when we talked to Taj about, the backstory there, that he thinks that there's a lot of resentment in what seems to be the only personal relationship that he's got. His girlfriend took off and moved to Oregon, or ex-girlfriend. He has nothing seemingly other than this. This is his entire identity. I want everybody to take a moment and recognize that I was right when I said a couple of episodes ago that Robbie's problem with Langdon is exactly what Dana said. It's not about Langdon. It's about Robbie. Robbie cares about Langdon as much as he is capable of caring about any of his friends. I don't think it's that he doesn't care about Langdon's rehab. I think it's that he is still blinded by anger at the fact that Langdon stole drugs and was high while he was working in quote unquote Robbie's ED. But I And like she pointed out, it's not about Langdon. Robbie is mad at Robbie because Becky, you're not wrong. I think he is. I don't think he's arrogant in the way that that asshole that choked Emma is
No, no, no,
arrogant.
no, no. But he is
He's
arrogant.
depressed. Right. He is depressed and has PTSD and God knows what else. And that can often make you feel like, or often that comes from a fact of this place of being the kind of person that feels like the only control in the world is you. You have to be on top of everything all the time because if you are not, no one else is going to be, and everything is going to fall apart. So Robbie's real issue is, and the reason he can't be compassionate towards Langdon and really let go of everything is because of exactly what Penny said. At the end of the day, this ED is everything to Robbie. He's mad at himself because he didn't see that Langdon was struggling and that he, quote unquote, in his mind, allowed this dangerous situation to happen. And that's what he can't let go of.
I think also Langdon was the golden boy, right?
Yeah.
He and Dana were the two people at the beginning of season 1 that Robbie relied on
Yeah.
and was like, these are my lieutenants. These are people that I trust. And the trust was destroyed with Langdon, and he has not landed on another person. You know, he's very friendly with Whitaker and clearly likes him. You know, he's got other people that he's like sort of grooming to be his lieutenant, but I don't think he has another person that he can rely on and feel comfortable relying on like he used to rely on the both of them.
Yeah. Excellent points, ladies. Excellent. Well, let's move into another reason why I wanted to kick Robbie in the butt. So him and Dr. Al Hashimi is still rocking my world this season. And she pulls Robbie aside and says she's going to recommend that the emergency department have 2 attendings on shift from now on. And she is not wrong because, as we are seeing with Robbie, this is too much for one person to handle.
Yeah.
And we notice that the night shift has both Dr. Shin and Dr. Abbott. So why don't they do that for the day shift? So
because Robbie doesn't want to share control. He's
right.
Yeah.
He would maybe share with Abbott. Like, he trusts Abbott.
I don't think he would like sharing.
Yeah.
I'm really like getting anxious about what is going to be the big reveal about what's going on truly with Robbie. Because I think what keeps getting hammered home is that, yes, whatever he's got going on, he needs to feel like the ED is going to be okay. But like Dana said, this place is going to keep turning without me, without you, without Dr.
Adamson.
Dr. Adamson. I almost was like, oh, Dana, because part of me thinks this belief he has that he has to oversee one more case, one more patient, one more crisis is the only thing keeping Robbie from realizing he has nothing else.
Yeah. It's what he's living for. And
it's what he's living for and what's killing him.
Yeah, exactly. It's both, right? It's keeping him alive, but it's also killing him, and it's not sustainable, which is what we're seeing.
Yeah, and he's not doing anybody any favors.
Mm-mm.
He is a great attending. He is a great teacher. He's a great doctor. But we've all learned you cannot help anybody else unless you are in a good place mentally and okay with yourself. Obviously, as we've been having in this discussion, Robbie is not there. So his mental health, we can see, is tanked. And he's basically making this place worse for his staff. He's done it to Mohan. He's done it with Dr. Al, knocking down Langdon. Mohan's snide comments. And everybody sees it, but Robbie doesn't. But what pissed me off here is Dr. Al is right. This isn't healthy for one person to handle. And she is concerned about behavior that she's seen from the staff. And Robbie outs Langdon. I thought Dr. Al learned last week what Langdon did was stealing drugs. But no, she had no idea. She just knew there was tension between Santos. And Robbie fucked up because he straight up outed Langdon, which, well, when we get into Langdon's point, is not a great thing for him, it seems. And Robbie backpedaled. He tries to rephrase it by saying Santos reported him for using drugs. but the damage was already done. And then instead of, let me think about this when we get back or something, what does he do? He's like, again, arrogance. This place is amazing. It's because I made it this way, and don't fuck it up while I'm gone.
Yeah.
That's all he's got.
Yeah. Because that literally is all he's got.
I think him keeping the secret about Langdon from, at the very least, the other ED attendings is malpractice, because recidivism for drug addicts is huge, right?
Yeah.
And they need to know what to be on the lookout for. They could treat Langdon professionally, but it's not fair to them to not have that information.
Well, and I think that this is proof that he really does, just like, as much as the same thing I said about Santos last week, for all of her bitchiness about the situation, she didn't report that he was stealing drugs. And I think that same thing with Robbie, whatever his attitude towards Langdon is, he clearly still cares about him because he didn't report the theft of the drugs. And that is what shocked the shit out of Al-Hashimi.
Yeah.
She was already aware, I think, that he had come from rehab, and she was okay with that. It was the stealing of the drug that now has made her freaked out about Langdon, because that is the big problem there.
Yeah.
Because like what Penny just pointed out, if he had progressed to the point where he was stealing drugs from patients, and this is literally what he's doing all day long, is dispensing drugs that could be a temptation, like that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah. And she deserves to know. If Robbie's like, don't mess up my ED, but there's secrets in here that I'm not going to tell you. Like, it's just not fair.
Yeah. It's not sustainable.
No.
And then let's say he does it again. Let's say Langdon falls down from his rehab, which a lot of people online are predicting is going to happen like already this season, and steals from the ED again. And this time it's Dr. Al-Hashimi who catches him, or Dr. Shen, Dr. Abbott, whatever. And then it comes out that he did it before and Robbie never told anyone. Robbie will lose his job.
Right. And I would have probably made the same choice Robbie did.
100%.
I'm not a narc, but...
Yeah, exactly. This is another reason I should not be in healthcare.
I probably would have asked him to find another job, though.
Yeah.
I think I would have been like, listen, I'm not going to turn you into the police, but you need to find another
Right. I just can't move past this or whatever.
I'll never trust you again. So...
Yeah, but that would take a much more emotionally aware person than Robbie.
It's so funny because Langdon showing up that day seemed like it was a surprise to everyone.
It was.
And I'm like, wouldn't Robbie know who was going to be there?
Yeah.
That was explained. Langdon was due back the following day, which is
Okay.
why Robbie scheduled his sabbatical leave for this
He thought he'd
shift.
be gone.
But because some doctors
Avoidance.
called out, they called Langdon and asked him if he could come in and work the shift. That's why Langdon's there.
That makes
Robbie
sense.
was not planning on being there when Langdon got back. He was going to be gone for 3 months, and then
That's
I
very
guess
mature,
deal with it when
Robbie.
he gets back. I mean, the guy's the walking poster child for mental health. He's great.
Right. Right.
I mean, when your motorcycle repairman realizes that you can't leave this place, it's this weird, if you feel like you don't leave now, that you're not going to leave. But I don't think Robbie wants to leave. Duke made a comment that he feels like he's being held hostage, and Robbie's offhandedly, as he's leaving the room, says, well, how do you think I feel? And I'm like, you are not a hostage, Robbie.
You're holding yourself hostage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're the only one. Like Dr. Al goes to tell him, hey, we're all good. The online's coming back up. And
Yeah, she says, you're clear.
you're
You're all
for
set. You
takeoff."
can take off. Yeah.
And he's like, I can't go yet.
Because I think this is why I kind of feel like he has some bad intentions towards himself. Part of him wants to be better. And I think that he's got this plan, but whatever it is, he doesn't really deep down want to do this thing. And the ED is the only thing keeping him alive. It's the only thing that he's got in his life, period. And
Yeah.
so I think part of him is trying to delay this because he doesn't really want to do whatever this awful thing is that he potentially has planned for himself.
Or he just doesn't want to go be by himself for 3 months and have to sit in this shit. I started thinking a lot about it last night, that reading a lot of theories online about passive suicidal ideation with Robbie. The more we talk today, it confirms my thought on last night. I don't necessarily think anymore that Robbie is going to go purposely or passively, purposely off himself. I just don't think he wants to go. I don't think Robbie can be by himself.
No,
Yeah,
for sure.
That's
don't
what I
that.
think is freaking him out right now, is that if he walks out that door, he's going to have to be by himself. Because you notice he makes that comment to Santos that they all need to go see a trauma specialist. Pot,
Yeah.
kettle.
all the
Yeah.
time. I think a lot about in the first episode of season 1, Langdon is like, what's the next thing? Or something like that. And one of the nurses calls him an adrenaline junkie. And he's like, yeah, that's why we work in the ER when we have ADHD, because anything else would be boring. But it's also an environment where you don't have to think about yourself much at all, because there's always something external going on
Yep.
that
Right.
you could focus on. And I think you're right, Becky, that he doesn't want to be alone with his thoughts.
Yeah.
But he planned this trip being like, what I need is some serenity. But it's not. What he needs is intensive psychotherapy. But
Right.
Yeah.
He needs a 72-hour involuntary cycle. I
Yeah.
stand by that.
Well, the reason, and I think that you absolutely could be right, Becky, it could just be that he doesn't have a hard and fast plan put together, but it is just that idea of really truly being alone for 3 months. It could still go that way. The reason that I lean more towards the idea that he has something planned is that over the last couple of episodes, I'm paying very close attention to his interactions with staff as he is preparing to quote unquote say goodbye. And there seems to be more than just a road trip planned in some of the things that he is imparting to people. I mean, he's not like handing out his Letterman jacket or anything like that, but he seems to be saying permanent goodbyes to some of
he
these
did
people.
sort of give his apartment to Whitaker.
Right.
I just think a lot of that is red herrings.
It could be.
The further we get into the season, the more who knows with this show, you genuinely
I
don't
could
know
see it
what's
going
going to
either way.
happen. Yeah, I think we're all could be going down the right track, and that's just one of the great things about the show is you genuinely don't know what's going to happen next. But I
Yeah, we
really
really don't know.
liked McKay's speech to him, and excellent delivery, Buffy and Adorf. I'm going to read it. In a previous life, I had a lot of friends who liked to see how close the edge was, as if it was a challenge they were called to meet. Trouble is, they all inevitably found it. And you could tell Robbie knew where she was going, but as he does with every interaction that he had where somebody's actually calling him out and trying to make him face that something isn't right, he blows it off and moves on. So I liked it. I liked that whole Robbie Dana thing and how it trickled out into everybody else. Not liked it as in it was a pleasant thing to watch, but it was very great television.
Yeah, and I know we're going to get into the Santos, Langdon, Robbie conversation later, but I think just because we're talking about where Robbie's head is at, this is a good place to talk about their interaction where he is talking about the kid with the try to blow himself up and says Amor Fati, and then she comes back with Memento Mori. I just think that this is more, to my mind, more proof that Robbie has moved into active suicidal behavior, because Amor Fati is the love of fate. It is a Stoic principle that fate is going to be what it's going to be, and that you should just embrace your fate because you can't fight against it. But when Santos says more like memento mori, because this guy literally almost killed himself, memento mori is another Stoic principle, which means remember you will die. And it is more about not just accepting fate, but dwelling heavily on the fact that you are destined for death and that that is, in fact, your fate. So when Robbie says tomato, tomato, to me, that was another clue that Robbie has moved. His mindset is it's all shit. It's all going to end in death anyway. I'm tired of fighting. I'm ready, that is my fate. My fate is death.
I have interpreted memento mori and the concept of remember that you're going to die as live in the moment and make the most of it and make decisions because we are mortal and our time is limited. But I think you're right that he interprets it as death is inevitable. And I mean, yes, death is inevitable. We're all going to die. I hope that's not a spoiler for anyone who's listening. But I think there's a subtle difference, and a depressed person or burned out
Yes.
person is going to see it one way, and a healthy person is going to see it a different way.
Yeah.
Well, in general, like the Stoic principle of memento mori, you are 100% correct that it is more supposed to be about reminding you to live in the moment because we are going to die and you need to recognize that and always keep that in mind that your time here is finite and you need to make the most of every moment. But because he literally made that connection between fate is death and said tomato, tomato, I think he was cryptically playing on words there.
Yeah.
This is getting me. Like this storyline is getting me because as somebody who's had depression most of my life, and again, it's why I could be projected. Becky, you could be 100% right. I could absolutely see it going the other way, that he doesn't have a bad plan. But Robbie's mindset very much reminds me of myself, this in just how I can get when I'm in a dark place. Since I was 6 years old, there's not been a day that goes by that I don't spend a good portion of the day thinking about death and the fact that I'm going to die someday, and what a fucking bummer that is. I have never been actively suicidal in my life. The difference between me and Robbie is it's always pissed me off. I don't want to die ever. And it's depressing as shit to me that I have to one day. But sometimes it's like, I don't know if you guys are fans of Hamilton, the musical, but there's a line in Hamilton where he says, it's basically something about the fact that he thinks about death so often that it's almost like his own death is a memory to him. And I read somewhere that Lin-Manuel Miranda suffers from depression. And he put that line in because it does very well sum up how obsessed you can become about, at the end of the day, what does any of it matter if we're all going to die? And I feel like that line between him and Santos was really brilliant writing, and it was deep, and it said a lot about where Robbie is at. And that ED is, again, both what is keeping him going, but it is also what is killing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on that before we move into chart notes?
Nope.
All right, let's start off with Sweet Mohan. I loved her with Frida and Ed, and shout out to the amazing Dan Florek. I remember him best from Law and Order SVU.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good to see him again.
I know, I just saw his funeral at the beginning of this last season, so I was so happy to see him. I was worried.
It's like Louis, he's alive and well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a great job too.
So good.
And I love their daughter. Oh,
she was in
so good.
Glow. Did you guys watch Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling?
I love Glow. Yeah.
She was awesome in that.
She was great. And it took me a while to place her. I was like, I know this face. Where do I know her from? Yeah.
Same.
I had to look it up on IMDb. I was like, oh my God, Glow. Yeah. Just amazing. I love Mohan. I think that she has all the qualities I would want in a doctor that was treating me. Yeah. She's thoughtful. She listens. You know, Al Hashimi said essentially the same thing to her about you should consider a geriatric specialty. But when Al Hashimi said it, it was like, I've been noticing these things about you, and I think you have a talent in this direction. Yeah. And Mohan took that as like, oh, thank you. Like, that's really helpful feedback. And when Robbie said it, he was like, you're not good enough for the ED. You should do something slow because you're slow.
It took us back to season 1 when he called her slow-mo.
Yeah.
Because she actually took time with her patients. It was a backhanded compliment.
They essentially said the same thing to her, but again, Robbie,
it was different intent.
It's not horrible what you delivery. Say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also just a different philosophy. Like, I think that Al Hashimi's point was we could use someone like you in this ED.
Yes.
Because it's not as if elderly people aren't a huge segment of our society who need care in the ED. And without a Mohan there to recognize the things that she did, to take time, Robbie thinks everything should be fast, 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 turn them and burn them. She is more of a, sometimes, even if you're in the emergency room, we got to slow down and really pay attention to what our patients are saying to us. or
Yeah.
you can make massive mistakes.
And by doing so, she actually figured out what was causing Ed to be having the balance issues and things like that, because she actually took the time to listen to them. And I love that. And I had no idea about the Beers list. And I wrote it down. It's identifying over 100 medications or classes to avoid or use with caution in adults over 65 due to risk of falls, confusion, and adverse effects. That happened years ago with my mom. She was on she has like a giant Ziploc bag full of medications, and she was acting weird. I took that to my dad, who he's retired now, but was a physician. And I was like, what about all this? And he's like, well, there's a lot of these that she doesn't need to be on. And that's also a lack of communication between healthcare providers.
Right.
You know, if you go to the emergency room or get admitted into the hospital, 17 people are going to come in and ask you the same freaking questions that the last 16 did. And it's frustrating. And it's like, aren't you all talking to each other? Aren't you all listening to each other?
And they're not.
No, they're not. But that's also billing, because that's another doctor that saw you, so they can bill you for that. It's crazy. But anyway.
Disgusting. I think I've told this story before, but my friend had her husband got into a car wreck at one point, had some back issues after that, and was actually getting ready to go back to work and doing better. And then somebody else hit him, and he was in an even worse shape after that. And so they started putting him on these medications for pain and different things. And then he started having some depression and anxiety, and they put him on. Long story short, after a couple of years, he's suddenly a completely different person, and one that no one in his family recognizes. Like a year there where she was just so worried about him all the time, and he was just getting worse. And this ended with him walking down the street in his bathrobe with a couple of rolls of toilet paper. To this day, no one knows what his plan was at that point, but they got him into the emergency room. Turned out it was like 17 different medications he was taking, and many of them caused adverse effects in his health because they were counteracting with each other. And they did exactly the same thing that they did here. They took him off about 90% of them, and he was himself again for the first time in years.
Yeah.
Something like that happened with my dad. He ended up in the emergency room, and he was sort of incoherent and a little out of it. And I'm talking to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you're just going to have to accept that your dad is dying. And I was like, this is not what he was like yesterday. Something is up. And we figured out that he had accidentally taken too many muscle relaxers. And we had asked them to do a tox screen. We were like, can you just check and see if he took something he shouldn't have taken? And they were like, he's dying. We know you're sad, but you just have to accept it. Jeez. And then my mom comes back to the emergency room. She's like, this bottle is empty. It shouldn't have been empty. Like, I think he took these instead of, because she was doing something really foolish, which was sorting his pills into pill bottles. It was like, here's the Monday, here's the Tuesday, here's the Wednesday. And so he picked up a pill bottle thinking it was like Monday pills, but it was like all the muscle relaxers. Anyway, I was like, you're incompetent to this doctor. I was like, you made a decision based on his age, and then you were rude to me, I assume, because I'm a girl, and didn't do your job. And a tox screen would have been reasonable, and it turned out that's exactly what it was. And like, he just needed to be detoxed, and then he was fine again. Well, not fine, but like, normal. It was an eye-opening experience for me. I lost a lot of respect for the medical system going through that.
Yeah.
It's just a good warning sign to everybody out there. If you're experiencing odd behaviors and you are on, and as the older we get, the more medications we have to take, at least in my case, as this show likes to educate us, and I'm glad that they do. I think this was a very good education moment, but I have to say, a much needed moment of levity was the sunburned American flag bikini girl being escorted down the hall while this very serious conversation is going on with the daughter. And she's like, McKay is like, how you feeling? And she's like, really stupid and really, really sore. I thought that was great.
And the American flag of it all, I was like, that is a not so subtle comment on where we are as a country right now.
For sure. We are on fire, ladies and gentlemen. We are on fire.
Painful and stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of those things.
Yeah.
Question I want to put out there to our Pittsburgh listeners. This couple's last name was Cohen. And that was also Debbie's last name from earlier this season. Is Cohen like a Pittsburgh popular name in the Pittsburgh
It's
area?
a super common name in the whole Northeast. I know
Yeah.
so many Cohens.
All
And
right.
It's a big
it's
Jewish
spelled
name.
like 3 or 4 different ways, but I've met so many Cohens in New York and in Boston and in DC, like just so many Cohens.
Yeah.
I haven't spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh, but I assume it's all over the Northeast.
I thought that was interesting. I've never seen them use the same last
That
name
is weird.
before.
That is unusual.
Who was Debbie?
Debbie's necrotitis fasciitis.
Okay.
Oh, we haven't
Mara
gotten an
Klein.
update on her.
Laura Klein, yeah.
She lost her
Okay.
leg.
She lost her leg,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, we found out she was in surgery, and then she ended up having to have that part of her leg amputated. So,
But she lived, right?
yeah. As far as we know, everything went fine.
God, that was scary.
That was crazy. All right, so let's move on to Langdon. Miss Azurmendi's husband, I thought it was very telling that he bypassed her and went straight up to see her son.
Yeah, there's more there.
Yeah, there's something going on. I'm beginning to worry that she might have maybe unintentionally done it on purpose.
Yeah,
I
I
don't-
don't know.
oh,
but
that
it seems
didn't
like
occur to
there's more
me.
there.
But it did occur to me that maybe her marriage is problematic in some way.
Right.
Something's
Maybe he's
wrong.
going to come to, I mean, it may have been an accident. There's a lot of ways it could go, but I thought the same thing. Like he could be abusive, like he could come down and just start laying into her without asking her. Or it might be that she's been suffering mental health challenges and he was aware of it. And this is just the fulmination of it. I don't know.
Because I get being completely distraught over the situation, but she went to suicide really fast.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
It's like she was already on the edge and she was like, I
Yeah.
might as well do it.
And maybe she was trying to take the boat. Who knows? But I hope this isn't one that they just leave dangling out there because I really want some answers about that.
I hope we get it too.
Yeah. Such a tragic situation.
I did not care for Al icing out Langdon now.
I loved it. I loved it.
I know you did. I know you hate Langdon.
I
I
don't
just
hate him. I just don't trust him.
I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know. The older I get, the more my mindset is if I have a problem or if I learn something, I'm going to take a beat, but I want to talk to said person about it. And I think if you are in a position of authority and you are Langdon's boss and you heard something that disturbed you that much that you felt like you needed to treat him differently than you had been treating him 5 minutes ago, then you should be having a conversation. And it disappointed me because Dr. Al seems to be a voice of reason this season. And I just think it was out of character for her to just flip that switch without talking to him first or say, I don't know. It just didn't
It was
seem
startling,
right.
but she didn't.
She
It's
just
not like
found
she
out.
ordered him out of the room.
Yeah.
She just was
No.
like, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Dr. Javadi. And
I like how she said Javadi too, and everybody
Yeah, me
else
too.
calls her Javadi.
yeah, I was like, ooh, is that how it's correctly pronounced? I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I think she felt betrayed by how smooth and self-assured Langdon is. And that she was like, why has Santos got a problem with this guy? He seems great. I think she was wrestling with that in her own head. And I agree it was a little unprofessional, but I still enjoyed it because Langdon makes me so angry.
I think she just needed a minute. Honestly, I don't think that it was about, again, the addiction. I think it was incredibly startling to her to find out that she had a doctor on staff who was stealing medication
Right.
and that it was not reported, because now she knows that it wasn't reported. And I think that especially for a rule follower like Dr. Al, I think it threw her off her game for a minute. Like, this is big. It should have been handled completely differently, but it wasn't. And now I have to go work with this guy that I don't know past today. And I accept that I now know that he stole drugs from patients. And that is a liability that can blow back on her. I mean, yeah, she was a little short with him.
Well, she was not a little short. Every time he opened his mouth, she was shutting him down or disagreeing with his diagnosis when the previous hours before said multiple times in our episodes, I love those two being paired together because of the way they work together. It was
Yeah.
a drastic, and I get where you're coming from, But again, you are a person of authority. Because Whitaker caught that. Whitaker straight up clocked that whole thing.
Yeah, he did.
So she's doing what Robbie's doing. And
Yeah.
it just bugged me just a little bit because it's very out of character for her.
It was, but I also think that it's deliberate because they're trying to accurately portray what happens when you are somebody who struggles with addiction that goes back into a medical or probably really any workforce. If people are aware that you have struggled with that, especially like I said, in a situation like this where he was stealing drugs, I think it's a pretty realistic thing that some people, like McKay, if she were the attending, would have handled it very differently. But I think it's pretty realistic that a lot of people whose professional reputations also rest on you performing your job well and ethically and unimpaired might turn a weird, like a jaundiced eye towards you for a minute. It was you're right. She was shutting him down repeatedly after that. I guess I'm just giving her a minute because she just found out.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it clearly rocked her. And it was like, in like Spike Lee movies when a character has like a realization and they do that zooming dolly shot where the camera comes in and the background changes. I felt like it was one of those moments for her where she was like thinking back over all of her interactions with Langdon and being like, I don't know this person at all. He's a facade. I don't trust him. And then she's in that room with him and she's like, I don't want to hear from you. I don't think it's going to last forever. I think she's a person who likes to be direct with people. But in that moment, I don't blame her.
But I don't know, Penny. I don't lean as far towards she just is like mad at. I think it really, truly, in my mind, it just seemed like it was more about the theft. And she now is like, it's making her question her own gut. She's kind of having the same reaction that Robbie did when he realized that he didn't truly know what Langdon was capable of. She thought she had a bead on him, and now she's like, she accepted that he was an addict, but he had gone to rehab and done all the things and was working the steps. But now she finds out that there's this whole extra layer that could potentially blow up her career, and that's shocked the shit out of her. She's lost the trust that she
I agree with her because he's not trustworthy. He betrayed everybody in that department.
Yeah, I think he has to prove. I don't know that he's not, but he definitely. It's unrealistic to think your very first day back that you're not going to have to deal with a lot of that.
Yeah. And after his conversation with Santos, where she only started to push back on his apology a little bit, and he immediately went to, you don't know what I've suffered. My wife left me. And I'm like,
well, she didn't leave him. That was the great part about it, is that he's like, you don't know what I've been through. And then he lists all the ways that he almost faced a consequence, but didn't actually.
Yeah. And also that is irrelevant to the situation between him and Santos.
Right.
And it's that defensiveness is what made me so angry at him. And I haven't been through a 12-step program. Thank God I've never had an addiction problem. But I do know that part of that process is facing exactly what you did. And I don't see that with him and Santos because he's like, I know I was an asshole. I know you don't like me. Yeah. And it's like, no, you tried to torpedo her career on her first day.
Yeah.
And you were really mean about it. You went to Robbie and you were like, Santos is dumb. She doesn't know what she's doing. He wasn't just being a jerk.
Bigger than that for me, as a red flag about what's seemingly going on with him, is that everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of him, but I have seen moments throughout this season that really make me have warmer feelings towards him. The way that he backed up Dana this episode and how he treats Mel. But the fact that he still debating whether or not he put anybody's life at danger, that to me is the biggest red flag that he is not as far in his 12-step
It's been
recovery.
9 months.
Yeah.
10 months.
It's been 9 months, and I'm giving, because all right, I'm gonna move forward into a point I want to bring up because I think this segues nicely. When he was talking to McKay, and she got a little shout out. We got to see Esme in this episode, but she brings Roxy's blanket, and it obviously shook up McKay. And she's talking to Langdon about how much she wants to cry but isn't able to anymore. And how she's turned off all of her feelings for so long she isn't sure she can turn them back on. And Langdon's response to her comment is, this is what happens when you work here. We get pretty good at shutting down our feelings. That was Robbie Rabinovich right there.
Yeah.
Robbie has taught Langdon to bury his shit like he's trying to teach Mohan.
Yeah.
Nothing outside comes inside these walls, yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying Langdon handled Santos correctly. You can go back and listen to the episode. I think he fucked up that apology royally, and I genuinely hope he does do it again and get it right. But Langdon's behavior isn't, not that he doesn't need to own his own shit. It is on him, but he was taught by somebody he reveres as like the man that we don't deal with our shit. We force it down.
It is a consequence of Robbie's general style that the people he works with are also trying to like bottle up their emotions and not deal with them.
Yeah, Langdon's got agency and he's a grown man, as Robbie pointed out. So he has to be responsible for his own choices. But I definitely think that
leads to why he might be in that headspace.
Right. I don't think that environment, and I think he was that was another one of those moments that I had some warm feelings towards Langdon, because I think that he was very self-aware when he made that comment, and he's right. Which also, I want to say, Becky, did you not think about me when he said, "Do you want a hug?"
And she's like, "Oh, God, no.
God, no." I want a t-shirt that says that now.
I'm gonna get you one, because I'm not a hugger or something, because I did think of you. I was like, that's me and Mandy right there. Yes. Except I would have just gone in for the hug. I wouldn't have asked you. I would have just grabbed you and had you awkwardly trying to, Pepe Le Pew and him trying to get that
the little girl.
You mean
she's
the sexual assault cartoon that we all watched as children?
Yes. I'm not going to sexually assault Mandy, but when I hug Mandy, that is her trying to weasel her way out of my grip.
I've had people hug me in the workplace when I wasn't into the idea of being hugged by them, and I got to tell you, it made me pretty freaking hostile.
I just don't, in general, I'm not a hugger. It makes me feel trapped.
I'm a huge hugger.
Okay, good. Because I'm
a big hugger with friends, but I've had people at work hug me and I'm like, what is happening? Like that is not okay in this environment. And when I've wanted to hug somebody at work, if they, they're leaving or something like that, there's something emotional going on, I always ask, would it be okay if I hug you, or would you like a hug? I would never force a hug on a coworker.
No. I would force one on Mandy.
Well, I'll force one on Mandy too when I meet her, but
oh God. There are times that I make a point of hugging people, but I need to, it's much like with everything else in life. I need to know it's coming. And
you need 45 minutes of prep to prepare for either giving or receiving said hug. Good to know.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Yes. I will take that into consideration when and if we ever meet in person. I'll be like, I am interested in a hug. Let me know when you're ready for that.
Yeah.
An hour later, Mandy just comes running over and like jumps up in your arms with her legs wrapped around your waist. I love you, Penny.
I'm a lot like Dana in that it feels like death to me to fall apart in front of people. There are very few people that I feel comfortable being emotionally vulnerable with. And that's the thing about hugging it. Like, I feel like most of the time when someone's hugging me that I'm being held hostage. It's not soothing at all.
I loved him geeking out too over the Fort Pitt historians. I thought that was a nice
Me too.
nod.
That was
cute.
And the museum gave him a shout out on their Instagram page.
Oh, really?
They
That's
tagged
cool.
Patrick Ball and was like, "Thanks, man. Come visit us anytime."
Oh,
that's
so
adorable.
Cool. It's so cute.
Yeah, those guys were adorable. They were one of my favorite parts of the episode.
I love Donnie being like, they haven't met me yet. Like he's like the sutures king. It's a funny through line.
It is, and I love Donnie and Langdon's romance. I missed it. I'm glad we got a little sight of it this episode. So, anything else there?
No.
All right, let's move on to Javati. Love that she got video of the ICE agents being a dick.
And she was uploading it.
Yeah, trying to.
Good for her.
I guarantee you Javati was the hall monitor in grade school.
Yes.
She is calling everybody out. And when she looked at Monica and was like, "You can't smoke out here," Monica's like, "Seems to be working for me so far." And then I just have here, what the fuck, Monica, again.
Yeah. Monica was such a
She
bitch.
was.
So yeah, we
She
learned.
was.
I was right. Monica definitely was feeling some vibes with the ICE agent, and I
I
just
don't
wrote here,
agree. I don't
Javati's
think that's
face
proven.
was all of us.
I don't think it's proven that she was like
It's the
friendly with ICE, but
snowflake
it was
comment.
very implied. Very, very, very
Yeah,
implied.
they added on to it this episode to make it look like not that she was colluding or whatever, but that she was not. She was for what they were doing.
At the least, she was okay with it. Like
Yeah.
everybody else was like visibly upset that ICE was there. And Monica was like, yeah, whatever.
See, here's why I don't know that. And again, this is totally biased because I do like I do like. I initially when they brought her in, I really liked her character, and it was a shitty thing to say to Giovanni, but also Giovanni is very much a hall monitor, so it was a little bit funny too.
That part was, but it's the snowflake, the idiot savant,
Yeah,
Gen X, Gen whatever. That was very shitty.
Yeah, the whole attitude.
yeah, and I'm not defending that. It just like she just sounds like a lot of women of that age that I know, but also she clearly grew up really, really poor. I'm going to go back though to the ICE thing. One of the reasons that I'm not 100% sure that they truly meant that to be the big moment that everybody is thinking that it is, that she maybe was colluding with them, is that this was recorded before, and they've talked a lot about this, that like, yes, ICE was already ramping things up, but they did this way before Minnesota. Like, it wasn't nearly as much on the national radar as it is now. So I don't know that they truly were meaning to make it a big deal that someone was being polite to or listening to an ICE agent. Could be.
I think this show doesn't, it's not unintentional, most of what we see. And even before Minnesota, ICE was still doing ICE.
Yeah.
They made a point of that scene where it looks like she's chatting with the ICE guy. He's like leaning over the counter, but they shot it from behind her, so you don't see her face.
Exactly.
I think the show is intentionally leaving that open to interpretation for now.
Which they do a lot.
Yeah, and I don't know that. I think they're definitely trying to make a case for her to be a certain type of person, but I don't know that they were trying to really push that she was quote unquote colluding with ICE.
I didn't get colluding. I just got like that she doesn't have a problem.
That she's just whatever about it. And that could be fair. But also, I loved her saying that I was stripping at Purgatory to get through med school. And I looked it up. Purgatory was an actual, real, really infamous strip club / go-go bar that was in Pittsburgh. I went through a whole rabbit hole today of looking up newspaper articles about it. It had a very colorful history, and I am sending you two girls right now a ad that I found, and I think that we know what Monica might have been doing in 1983.
Oh
if you'll
my
just take a look at that. Lady Mud Wrestling at Purgatory.
That is amazing.
So apparently go-go dancer mud wrestling was big in Pittsburgh at the time because Purgatory had a team, and so did several other strip clubs / go-go clubs in the area. So yeah,
Wow.
you know, when you got a lady that was putting herself through school with Lady Mud Wrestling, she's probably not going to have a lot in common with a 21-year-old genius.
Yeah. I mean, respect for doing what it took to get yourself through school.
For
so you
sure.
can have
I am not judging
you
that
know,
at all. She didn't have to be a bitch to
career,
everybody, but yeah.
she was mean to Giovanni. And Giovanni is such a sweetie pie most of the time.
Right.
I just loved her face. I paused it to take a note after she made the comments back to her. And I looked at Javati's face and I was like, that's all of us in America right now.
Yeah. Well, and if she is MAGA, it's hilarious that they call everybody snowflake because they are the most sensitive,
thin-skinned,
offended by everybody group of people on the entire planet.
I also loved when Santos and Whitaker were having their moment, which I know we're going to talk about, but I loved Pan to Javati, and she's like, that gave me so much joy. You have no idea. I think that Santos has been a thorn in her side, and
yes,
seeing her a little bit vulnerable, just like
it was
a paradigm
great. It was
shift
just chef's
for her.
kiss for her. Good for her.
Yeah. And lastly, with Javati, Finance Mateo is back. I love how he calls her Dr. J, meaning he's been watching her videos and then trying to recruit her to the night shift. And I wrote in my notes, I'm very sad it doesn't seem like they boned yet.
Yeah, but I mean, I loved seeing how the tables have turned here. Like Mateo is suddenly like, what's up, Javati? And she's the one that's being all, maybe.
Right.
And I thought it was funny he had to explain to her who Dr. J was.
That was adorable.
That was very cute. All right, next up, Santos Whitaker and Joy. Whitaker, God love him, making a comment about needing them when they could be useful because Ogilvy's in surgery with the English teacher and Joy's just standing there and he tries to backpedal the selfie because he's the phantom of the pit.
Oh my God, that made me so happy.
But what really cracked me up is have you guys seen that meme or like reaction photo? And it may be Whitaker. It looks just like him, but there is this very common thing that people will post on like TikTok comments or Instagram comments where it's this blonde white dude that looks a lot like Whitaker and he's going, me? And he's just kind of pointing at himself. Whitaker literally did that. I know it was intentional because somebody has to have pointed out that it looks just like him. But when she asked if she could get a photo, he literally points at himself like, you're talking to me? Like, you want a photo with me? Okay.
And he's so flattered. And then I couldn't tell for sure, but it seems like the photo she got was after he turned his head.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that selfie's even funnier than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah. Couple of jokes Santos got in this episode that had me rolling. Smoke him if you got him. This place is going tits up.
Yeah, tits up is an underused phrase.
Yes. And then when she walks in the room with that, I think his name is Dorian with his arm in a sling, and she looks confused. He's like, is there a problem? And she's like, are you a 4-month-old with severe diaper rash? And the guy gets upset and he's like, this place sucks. And she's like, try working here.
Yeah. She is burnt out.
She is, but I think it's interesting how chill Robbie is with her and her demeanor with her job in general and how she talks to patient and staff, but he gets so worked up with Mohan taking time with her patients. He is like such a, I don't know, he's very all over the place with his
There's a lot of
tolerances.
speculation on the internet about, is Robbie a sexist because he's
yeah.
so harsh on Mohan.
Here
Then
too.
I was like, but he's so nice to Mel and he's pretty nice to Santos and he's really nice to Whitaker. Is it a race problem?
I think it's sexism, but I also think it's like being uncomfortable with vulnerability.
Yeah.
And a lot of women in general, we just tend to be more emotionally intelligent and a little bit more empathetic. And I think that's what he struggles with. And it makes us a weird sense that he would be very comfortable with Santos because she is also so incredibly wounded that she's one of those weird people that doesn't like hugs. Like
and she is tough on the outside.
Like she doesn't even want to admit that she doesn't want Whitaker to be her roommate or that she wants Whitaker to stay. She cannot be vulnerable, and I think that's what he sees in her and why he is a little bit chummier with her than he is with some of the other women on staff.
I think also they've really bonded about Whitaker. I think they have this shared concern and also love for Whitaker. Like they both see that he has talent and that he's kind of like a sweetie pie. And they both feel nurturing and protective toward him in their own sort of stern, tough way. And it's like she's almost like a peer to him when it comes to that. Also, they have the shared thing about Langdon. You know, he's the only other person that really she can talk to about it. And
that makes sense.
They have the same opinion about it. And it's just, you know, when you bond with someone, you bond with them.
Yeah. And it's kind of ironic because I think that they are so worried about Whitaker getting his heart crushed or not knowing where lines should be drawn, etc. And it's so hypocritical of both of them. And I suspect that Whitaker is much stronger emotionally and more in touch and aware than either one of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's also, they see that and that's what they want to protect. Like he's healthy. Let's keep him that way.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they think that in a certain way that they equate softness with weakness because that's
or naivety.
That's how they feel. And I think it's a big blind spot for both of them. I mean, Santos goes around thinking that she is the most jaded is actually the word I want to use. Yeah, I think she goes around thinking that she is so sophisticated and she's seen it all and she's been through it all. And that's one of the reasons that I really identify a lot with her and Robbie is because of the shit that I had been through at a young age and because of my own mental health struggles. I very much felt this kind of contempt is really the only word I can use for it for most of my peers, because I felt like they hadn't seen anything. I couldn't relate to the things that they thought were important. I couldn't relate to their ability to be vulnerable, to ask for help, any of those things. Like asking for help to me to this day is something I struggle with. It feels like death to have to ask someone else to be there, but that all stems from not a healthy place. So Whitaker's obviously been through some things, but instead of learning that lesson, Whitaker has been able to protect himself or his mental health to the point that he is still okay with making himself vulnerable to other people. He hasn't closed that part of himself off. So I think a part of it, as much as they love him, is a little bit contemptuous, that they think that he's not as strong as they are. And I think that they're wrong. I think Whitaker feels protective of both of them because he is stronger than they are emotionally. And that even though he's had some struggles, it takes real, and this is something that it took me into well into my late 20s, early 30s to recognize. It takes real strength to admit that everything can be fucked up sometimes, but you're not going to allow it to make you hard. And I don't think that those two have that lesson learned yet. And I think Whitaker does.
And I did like though that she did let her wall down just a little bit by being open with Whitaker about
Yeah.
how she's feeling with
Yeah.
everything that's going on.
Because she needs somebody bad.
Yeah, and I'm glad he didn't let it go. Like when she normally gives her, okay, you can go now, bye-bye. He's like, no, what's going on? And then she calls him out about moving out, which led to that hilarious moment you were talking about, Penny, with just Javati just being right there with a smile on her face. You have no idea how much joy that brought me.
But I think that's another example of Whitaker being a stronger person. Like everybody keeps talking about how she bullies Whitaker, and she doesn't. It's
She
not okay
does.
the way she talks to him, but I don't think he perceives it. I think it rolls over him. I don't think he's unaware that it's not nice, but I think that he sees all of the good parts of Santos, so he doesn't feel bullied because he knows it's like a chihuahua nipping at your heels.
Whitaker seems like a great person to be able to see past what would drive the rest of us in our older
Yes.
ages crazy
Yes.
and look like I used to be. Like I could see the good in it, which sometimes was to my detriment, that did lead to me being taken advantage of and stuff like that. But he doesn't let that stop him from continuing to see the good in people and focus on that rather than focusing on the negative.
Yeah. I don't even feel like really, honestly, that Whitaker is somebody that is naive. I don't think he's
No.
naive. I think he's been through some shit. I just think that unlike Robbie and Santos, he didn't let that shit make him harder.
Yeah.
That's real strength. To me, it's people like Whitaker. Identify more with the Robbies and the Santoses, but I think that the people like McKay, who, even though she talked about not being able to access her emotions, and I think that, that is part of it, but I also think that she is not allowed that ED, whatever, to make her as emotionally closed off as those two characters and some of the others.
Yeah. The head wound was fabulous. That was one of the coolest wounds I've seen in this
that was so
series.
disturbing.
When they were doing the camera pan and the shot of her just holding that flat back while explaining to him what's going on was a trip. And then I had to laugh that Joy got Whitakered when she got the blood spurted on her. That's what I'm calling it now when somebody gets bodily fluids on them. Garcia had a great joke about how Robbie's going to make someone a great ex-husband one day.
That was hilarious. And I was like,
funny.
what? I wanted more from that
I
conversation.
love that. Speaking of conversation, so Robbie tells Santos that he heard about her conversation with Langdon and then tells her not to let old conflicts get in the way and that you're going to have to find a way to work together.
Yeah.
And that he wants her to see a trauma counselor. I wrote in my notes, ... all caps, hello, ? Pot, meat kettle again.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, there's another moment of Robbie just do as I say, not as I do, as Dana pointed out.
And then we see her with the scalpel. So I hope to God with all my soul that she finds solace. My last note here is that Santos pockets a scalpel. God, I hope more than ever she ends up hanging out with Mel and Whitaker after the shift and doesn't help self-harm. And I wrote, you can do this, Santos.
Yeah, I worry about her.
I feel like she's gonna, for once in these 2 seasons, she's going to allow these people who care about her and she's understanding, learning more about, that do care about her. I feel like she's not going to tell them anything, but I feel like she's going to let them embrace her. Whether they
I hope
realize
so.
that's what they're doing or not, they're just wanting to hang out. I really feel that's my hope, is that with this story arc, that it ends with them being together, watching the fireworks, having a beer in the park, whatever, and keeping her from wanting to hurt herself. I hope that's what
hope so.
happens. And I
Yeah,
love
me
how
too.
Joy was ready to bounce after her shift. And what did she say to Langdon? All you lunatics need to learn how to set some boundaries. Preach, Joy.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people being pissy about that online. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that, because I think that this ties into the whole point of the reason that this environment is killing our healthcare workers and our healthcare system is because it is being propped up by good people who are staying in there and working the extra hours. Like she pointed out, I'm not getting paid for this, very much the opposite. She's a med student. She's 12 hours. She's there and making zero money
Yep.
to go
Yeah.
through all of this. And healthy boundaries are the only way that you can sustain that lifestyle for any length of time. And not setting those healthy boundaries is helping to prop up this system that is chewing you up and spitting you out.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't work in healthcare. If anybody out there who does work in healthcare has more thoughts on that, I would love to hear them, because it's a catch-22. On the one hand, if you walk out, you are leaving your coworkers and patients in the lurch, and you have this oath that you take to do no harm and to give your patients the best care they can, but you are a human being. And at a certain point, you've got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and that's what she's doing. She put in her 12 hours. It's not like she bailed early on her shift or anything like that. I completely agree with her walking out the door
Mm.
and then passing Dr. Shin with his Dunkin' coffee.
With his Dunkin'.
Still got it. Love that guy. And she's like, sorry for the mess. He's like, what
Do
mess?
we know any backstory on him? Is he a Boston boy? Because
We don't know.
the way that Bostonians love their iced Dunkins
That's
is like
true.
nobody else.
Yeah,
He
we
might
don't know.
be. We don't know. But that man always has his Dunkin'.
Yeah.
And then last chart note, patient and sexy arrested nurse updates. Jesse's still missing. He's the sexy arrested nurse, in case y'all were
Okay, I
wondering.
wasn't sure
Not
where you were
baby
going.
Jane Doe. Baby Jane Doe is still in the hospital. And I gotta ask, is she under 24-hour watch? Because
I
if
don't
not,
know.
somebody's gonna steal that baby. I really feel like somebody's gonna steal that baby. Or Dr. Collins is gonna come and get her. One of the two.
I kind of had a thought that it might be the mom whose son had the heat stroke, like that she's not all there. And what if she takes the baby?
Oh, interesting.
Maybe it's possible. Although
Yeah, that's a wild swing.
she is being observed right now because there's always a nurse or doctor in the room with her.
Oh, that's right, because she's being held under
And
observation.
yeah, so
Yeah, gotcha. So that's probably unlikely. Something's gonna have to happen with this baby. This baby is just like a huge metaphor, but I don't think we're gonna know exactly what the metaphor is until episode 15 wraps
it's
up.
gonna be Dr. Collins. It's gonna come and get her. That's what I hope. Heat stroke boy is still recovering. He is recovering in ICU. That was good to hear. I hope everything works out well for him. And last note, Orlando is back in the ER with head trauma from a fall because the
upsetting.
poor man can't afford his life-saving
insulin.
medications.
Yeah,
Burka.
Yeah. We should have assumed that was going to happen.
we did.
I think we all did. Yeah. Like we knew that was gonna, just like the lady who left last week because I showed up with the blood clot. I have no doubt we're gonna see her again before this episode is over or
Yeah.
season is over.
Yeah.
All right, final thoughts. I think this is a great episode. I know a lot happened, but it was definitely, they slowed the pace down a little bit than the last couple of episodes, but I think it still packed a very important punch. There was a lot happened, and I have absolutely very little idea of how this is all going to play out. And I give this 5 rejected Langdon hugs out of 5.
It was great. I loved it. I thought it was a very, very solid episode. It wasn't as frenetic as the last episode, but God, we needed a little bit of a break there. And I think it allowed us to get back and peek a little bit more into Robbie and Dana's quickly deteriorating mental state.
And relationship.
I think they've had days like this a million times in their career. And I think that what makes their relationship work so much is that they do have such immense respect with each other. And I think both of them have this thing in their head that it's all going to fall apart if they're not the ones there. I know what Dana said, but I also know what Dana does. And I think that they both have this idea that it's all on their shoulders and they have to keep all the balls juggling in the air. But anyway, I loved it, and I'm going to give it 5 hidden vials of Versed out of 5.
Good one. Penny.
I loved it, and I'm glad that this is the one that I could come on and talk to you guys about, because there was so much meaty stuff going on and emotional stuff. And I did not at all mind watching it 3 times. So that's always a good thing. I am
Yes.
going to give it 5 cancer mom blankets out of 5.
Oh, R.I.P.
Aw.
Cancer Mom.
Yeah.
That was very sad.
That was very sad. All right. Procedure of the week. I'm going to go with the scalp wound. That
Agreed.
was freaking amazing.
Oh my God, it was so
That's
gross.
not the word I'd use, but yes, that's my word.
All right. We got some good feedback this week. So we'll start off with from our What's On Tonight Facebook page, Ginger Morris. Ginger, you are only allowed to send in voice notes from now on so we can read this.
We got to
in-
hear you.
Yeah, but thank you for this feedback. She says, yeah, poor Santos is having a hard time. I think we all know what she wants to do with that scalpel, but I hope Whitaker will pick up on something. Same. He seems concerned about her. Her Fuckleberry comment had me rolling. Also, Mateo is back. Yay! As for Robbie and Duke, I formed a theory. Ooh, okay. She says, I'm picking up on some vibes. Like maybe Duke is somebody more important to Robbie, even if he doesn't know it himself. Perhaps he's Robbie's bio dad and Robbie knows, but Duke doesn't.
I don't think they're that far apart in age.
No,
That's a hot take, though.
it is.
It is.
We don't know much about Robbie's background other than a hint last season that he may have been raised by his grandmother. Girl, you got a memory because I don't remember any of that. But something about the way Robbie is with Duke makes me think there's something deeper going on there. It does. His concern does make it seem like they met more than 6 months ago.
Yeah.
She goes on to say, I could be way off base, but it's just the vibe I'm getting. Well, we will see, Ginger. And as for the guy who attacked Emma, I'm 100% with Dana on this one. Sorry, not sorry. She was a badass and she did what she had to do. Amen. Lastly, that scene with Monica and Javardi. She wrote Javardi in the ambulance bay. Becky, you were so right with your Monica vibes. Yuck. Looking forward to your thoughts, girls. Yay. Thank you, Ginger. I want to know how you came up with that Robbie Duke theory. What happened last season that I missed?
I agree that Robbie is attached to Duke in a way that most people are not attached to their mechanics. But Robbie doesn't have anyone else. And he probably hangs out with Duke. And like Duke said, I didn't know he was a doctor. It was probably a time when Robbie was like, you be the expert and I'll just hang out. I think that it means a lot to Robbie, this friendship with Duke, and Duke has no idea, but I don't get father vibes out of it.
I think, and this is really just a kind of an uninformed theory, but it's an inkling that I have. If we had all read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, that this relationship would make more sense.
I agree.
I think one of the things that is, and I've heard Noah Wiley talk about in interviews, how much philosophy he reads. And I think that that is also true of some of the other writers. Just for instance, them building in that whole conversation about Amor Fati and Memento Mori, which is Stoic principles. They do this every episode. They bring in philosophical principles. And I think that this storyline is supposed to, in some way, be referential of that book, which is a very well-read, fairly recent philosophy book. I have not read it, but I think it has something to do with your motorcycle maintenance and maintaining your bike as a way of life and like getting your head into a Zen space. I'm not going to be able to explain it more intelligently because I haven't read the book, but I think that that's what it is that he sees something Zen in that guy and he feels proprietary of him for that reason.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I've been meaning to read that book for a long time, so much so that I've discovered that I've bought it twice. I have 2 copies of it in the house.
Really?
Yeah.
Save one for us when we come visit.
We also got some feedback via the Pitt fans Facebook page from Diane Peters, who says, I really enjoy watching your show after I watch the Pitt. Episode 12 was really busy, and I really feel sorry for that guy that comes back. He got hurt again, the one that's a diabetic that left early. A lot of people can't afford their insulin or their medication. It's terrible out there. Even the senior citizens skip their medication because they can't afford it. Can't wait to see the 13th episode. And she's got a little crying emoji and is that prayer hands emoji
Prayer
or a high?
hands.
I heard somewhere that it's actually a high.
It
five
actually
emoji.
is, but everybody still uses
Everyone
it as
uses it as
praying
prayer
hands.
hands.
Yeah. And Diane, by the way, I've decided, I told Becky this week that every time we say your name, just like with Linda, we always say, hey girl, hey, we're going to start singing Dirty Diana, which I know is not, your name is not really Diana, but that's going to be your new call song.
Yeah, that's where we're at. So
If you've got a better suggestion, you let me know. Via email, Ellen wrote, I'm glad we saw that Emma was physically okay right away. Seeing Dana's concern, fierce protection, beef with Robbie, and bathroom meltdown, all so intense.
for real.
It was. Watching Dana and Robbie fight had me like, oh no, not mom and dad fighting. You and Becky both.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
That is how
too.
it felt.
Yeah. Dana carrying around Versed after her assault to use it as to protect Emma was poetic. Robbie is just all over the place with his selective empathy. Amen.
Preach.
He's giving Dana, immediately after trauma, a guilt trip about by-the-book use of meds and potential legal issues while he's seeing the fallout of his failure to report Langdon for drug theft and diversion was wild. Dana is such a great character. She sure is. So strong and protective, but struggling and still dealing with PTSD at the same time. Langdon getting iced out by Al-Hashimi was hard to watch, but understandable in some ways. Al-Hashimi walked into a shit show with very little important information about the staff. As someone who likes all the characters, warts and all, I find parts of the Langdon-Santos-Robbie saga a bit maddening. Last season, Santos was kind of written off by Langdon early on after she made some big mistakes, doing things on her own without running it by him, trigger point injection, BiPAP, but those were things within the first 4 hours. Langdon was rightfully frustrated, but he wasn't a good mentor to her, in my opinion. He was kind of done with her after hour 4. Once he realized Santos was onto him, he did gaslight her and did try to humiliate her in front of her colleagues and tank her career to Robbie. Even so, in the long run, Robbie had to coax her concerns out of her. After that, after Santos showed him the vial, it was really out of Santos's hands. Robbie should have reported that, but he didn't. Langdon could have self-reported everything, but he didn't. He reported addiction, but not theft and diversion. Had the drug theft/diversion been reported properly, Langdon would still have had a path back to work. I don't agree with Robbie and Santos that he should be in jail. He would still have a path back to work. However, he would have had some restrictions with meds. HR would have briefed the attendings. His return wouldn't have been a total shock to everyone. Santos would have had some type of whistleblower protection, and there's no way she would have been forced to work the same shift under his direct supervision like that. Langdon's recovery is showing signs of trouble since he hurt his back and is experiencing self-doubt after Robbie, Santos, and now Dr. Al's interactions. Santos has to watch somebody who is awful to her and hiding part of his addiction from everybody get golden boy treatment from his colleague. And Robbie is lashing out at everyone over his inner conflict about how he mishandled the discovery of Langdon's theft and diversion. Santos could have reported it, but that's a lot to put on her. The newest one, the least power, a queer woman of color, going over a senior resident and attending's head. There's no way she would have fared well with that. I think Robbie and Santos just thought Langdon was gone, getting treatment, and that they'd never have to see him again. Then bam, after 10 months, there he is. There's trauma all around. I see faults in all their behavior, and I see things I totally get from their perspective too. Drama! Exclamation point. I love it. I hope it's somewhat resolved, or at least the path to resolution is started by season's end. Me too.
Yeah. I love that last part about faults in all their behaviors and but also seeing some things from all their perspectives. That was well said.
Yeah.
She goes on to say, I loved Langdon and McKay supporting each other and having a nice talk. Poor McKay, she's so affected by her patient care, yet feeling so disconnected at the same time. They all need hugs. They do. McKay tending to the man who assaulted Emma was interesting. The way she talked about him still being held accountable, even though he was under the influence, has parallels to her and Langdon's accountability.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Well, she's saying like that's a lesson that McKay had to learn the hard way.
Oh, because they're both
Right,
recovering addicts. Gotcha.
Right.
Sorry. My bad, Ellen. Thank you, Mandy. This show, ... with the parallels, so good. Now that I know what you're talking about, I agree. Whitaker and Santos are brother and sister, and I hope that Santos will let her guard down and tell him she wants him to stay. Never going to happen. When Santos made a comment about Langdon relapsing, I felt like she was projecting. Interesting. Yeah. It's heavily implied that Santos has experience with addicts and drug users in her past and seems resigned to relapse being almost inevitable. But she was also projecting because she's on the verge of relapsing with self-harm. That is something I did not connect the dots on.
Very true.
The parallels between Langdon and Santos are strong. Like knows like. I hope that scalpel she took ends up in the trash. Preach. There was a little thaw on the Garcia and Santos front. There was. Maybe she'll confront Santos about the scalpel and ditch it before Santos uses it on herself or drops it on Garcia's other foot. That's what I would hope for, is that she drops it on her other foot.
Yeah.
I don't see Garcia coming in and being like, don't you do that.
No, I think when she described herself as Santos or Garcia's stress relief squeeze toy, it was that moment of her being nice to Santos was fine, but I honestly, just as the season goes on, I back to what I thought last season, which this is just a bad toxic relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think Garcia has any interest in it being anything other than that. So
yeah, me either.
Yeah. Ellen goes on to say, I love Joy Kwan. Me too, Ellen. I love Joy Kwan. I'd be happy for her if she just went home, but I'll miss her. I wonder if Dr. J leaked Whitaker's 8th floor living situation. Joy knows of Dr. J, and Javati was the only other med student with Whitaker last year, and she's quite familiar with other floors since her parents work in other areas of the hospital. It's an interesting theory.
It is.
I'm telling Ahmad to put $25 on Javati. Who knows in that gossip factory, though? Anyway, another feedback novel, and I didn't even talk about everything. Looking forward to the night shift coming in and seeing where all our traumatized doctors and nurses are heading in the final 3. Oh yeah, and fuck Monica. Lots of love to you ladies. Can't wait to listen to episode 12.
I want to put a caveat in here. While I am not 100% sure that they really meant for everybody to zone in too much on Monica talking to the ICE agent, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I absolutely think if they were writing this season now, they for sure would have made her collaborative with ICE. Like, I'm just not sure because of it wasn't the same America. It was ramping up, but it wasn't quite there. But I definitely think if they could go back and rewrite, that they would put in somebody that was collaborating.
Yeah. Lots of love to you too, Ellen. Thank you for such amazing feedback.
As always. And we've got a voicemail from our friend Sam. Here's her thoughts on the episode.
Hi, rock stars. Oh, stressing out with this show in the best way possible. I'm so glad, like, you ladies called it. Dana saved Emma, so it didn't get too bad, because for anyone who isn't in the know out there, a chokehold is very lethal. Like, not even potentially lethal. Like, if you're actively doing that, like you saw the marks on her neck, like, not just like, you know, noogies, like if you're actively holding someone in a chokehold, it's very lethal. There's a reason police aren't legally allowed to do it. That's a whole other thing. So I'm sorry, you walk into a room and you see someone has a chokehold on your colleague. Yeah, you're going to do whatever you need to do to get them off of them. Like, I could have sworn, I thought Dana like popped him in the nose or something, or elbowed him in the nose. And I was like,
allegedly.
Oh, I mean, that's a lethal chokehold. That's very different than getting out of arm grabs or anything else that I teach. Like, chokeholds are very dangerous. I get it. You can't walk around with a bottle of Versed, like, to trank unruly patients. I get that. There's a lot of legal stuff in there. You don't know if they're allergic. It could kill them. And people coming out of surgery can just have a violent reaction to the anesthesia. people come in on drugs and alcohol and they don't normally act that way. With this asshole, it seems like that's just his personality trait. I don't know about you ladies, but if I was sobering up or coming out of anesthesia and I found out I had attacked a nurse or a doctor, I would be hysterically crying. I would be so upset. And that makes so much of the difference in the world. Then again, I don't do cocaine. So, like, I think maybe there's a big difference there as well. But that was definitely his choice to put Emma in a chokehold. Yeah, people can act out under the influence and not be themselves. I do like how the writers showed, like, yeah, but wasn't just throwing his arm out to hit someone or break her arm. He was trying to kill her. Yeah, so I'm glad Emma's okay. We're seeing more and more that Robbie's way of coping is just hurting everyone around him. He is the danger to his ED. He's trying to like say like, okay, I want to patch everything up so it'll be handled when I'm gone. And it's like, sir, you are the one damaging your ED.
Yep.
Like first it was Langdon, that now it's Dr. Santos and Dr. Mohan. Like I'm not saying he's the only reason for people to have panic attacks or drug addictions or wanting to re-engage in non-suicidal self-injury to cope with the distress. I'm saying he encourages and models and outright tells them, it sounds like, bury your feelings, put them out,
Yeah.
don't feel them. And that's not going to work. I can tell you that right now. Like we're seeing it doesn't work. You actually do have to feel them, Robbie, because you're not coping well and you have in bed and now you're suicidal, but you're like, yeah, this should be fine for everyone else. And like he's seeing this stuff. Like poor Dr. Santos has had a day. And so like I don't think it's just the Langdon stuff. I think everything's just kind of pushing her over the edge. And like Robbie's favorite students, like Langdon and Santos and Whitaker's just a golden little puppy. Like he's having the best time of his life. But like the other people who are having some really hard stuff going on, they're not getting any support, which is his job. If he hears and knows that Langdon and Santos are having an issue, either get over your own stuff because Dana was right. Like, you don't get to hold that against people. You need to train them how to deal with this and move on. You don't have to be friends, but you do have to train them and move on and be professional. Or get a mediator for those two and be like, hey, they need to work this out because this isn't working and they need to figure out how to work together. Well, the social workers can do it. I would have done it. But he's not doing it. He's briefly mentioning it and moving on. I think even Duke is picking up on something being wrong. Like he's like, yeah, I'm okay sticking around with a hottie nurse, you suicidal fuck. Like I feel like he's picking up on it, which is not great. So I'm really kind of stressing out. Like I don't know how they're. What do you ladies think? Like as we're winding down, is it going to happen to Robbie? Is someone else in the ED just going to freak out and attempt suicide? Where do we see this going? Like, how do you guys think this is going to end? Also, why does this suddenly change things for Dr. Al-Hashimi with Langdon? It's a little different. You're worried about relapse, but she got real cold real fast. And I didn't understand it.
Oh, thank you for that, Sam. The only thing I could think of is where we might be going if it's somebody else, is we haven't seen Abbott back yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And he should be there by now. Because they in an article we read earlier in this season, didn't they say something was happening with Abbott, or something with Robbie was going to really affect Abbott? I don't remember quite how they put it, but I think it might be, if I had to guess of something, I would think it might be Abbott related.
Maybe. I could see that. I have genuinely no idea. I have no clue. This is such a powder keg that I have no idea where they're going to go with this.
Exciting.
Well, as always, guys, thank you again to everybody who takes time to send us feedback in any way, shape, or form. We love it. So please keep it coming. Again, I know repeating myself, but it tickles me every single week to see that you guys not only listen to us and want to join in this conversation, but you actually take time to send it. And we don't take it for granted.
No, we don't. It's greatly appreciated. And if you would like to get in touch with us, leave some feedback or just say hello, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight and the number 2 @gmail.com.
You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2.
And of course, we would greatly appreciate it if you would just take a moment and leave us a review or a comment, a like, or share our podcast on the listening app of your choice. It really helps us find new listeners, or helps listeners find us.
Yes. All right, ladies, what do you say we assist with irrigating a gaping head wound? And while there, talk about podcast recommendations, good TV movies, or anything else you want to share. Penny, you are up first.
Well, lately I have been obsessed with 2 shows, The Pit and
What's that about?
Paradise. Yeah.
Oh my
it's great. You'd like
God.
it. I'm so into Paradise right now. There's
I'm right
one
there
episode
with
left.
you. I heard you on your last episode of Still Slaying giving that recommendation, and I was like talking to you through my car speaker.
It's really good, and I am obsessed with it. The only podcast I have about Paradise is I often listen to podcasts from a group called the Lore Hounds, and they did like a one shot where they talked about season 1 and the first half of season 2, and apparently they got like overwhelming feedback from people being like, more of the Paradise podcast, please. So they're going to do another one at the end of season 2, and I'm hoping they'll cover season 3 in full.
Ah, sweet. Send me a link to that if you think about it. I'd love to listen to that.
I will, definitely. And also, as movies go, I saw Project Hail Mary. I know everyone's talking about it. It's wildly successful, but I have to say that I loved it. And I think it is one of those rare movies that will appeal to an entire family. Multiple generations can watch it together, which I think is valuable. And I would suggest people like go with their kids, maybe like 10 and up. I wouldn't take little kids to it, but it's really beautifully made, and it's lives up to the hype. And of
Cool.
course, if you're a Buffy fan, please join us over on Still Slaying.
Yeah, you definitely should. Even if you're not a Buffy fan, you guys have some of the best conversations, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you. Sometimes Becky's on, so that's great.
Sometimes. Mandy?
I don't really have any TV or podcast recommendations this week, but I do want to say that I went to the 3rd No Kings rally here in my tiny little, very, very red rural community outside of Nashville.
So proud of you.
I was really amazed at how many people showed up. I mean, even in that small little town, which is, like I said, we are vastly outnumbered here. There were tons of people and tons of support. And shockingly few people driving by and flipping us the bird. One of my favorite signs, and I'm going to probably do this at the next one, and I'm sure there will need to be a next one, was flip us off if you support pedophiles.
That
That's
is
great.
amazing.
It
That's
was
great.
great. So I just want to mention it, and I want to encourage anybody who has been teetering on the fence about whether or not they want to attend one of these things. If you are in despair about what is going on in our country right now, and you feel safe enough to do it, I highly encourage you to go. Great community building event. I went with my mom and my daughter, and my daughter, said that she said Yaya accidentally dropped some sad family lore because my mom turned to her and said, one of her earliest memories about television was watching the people protesting the Vietnam War, and here we are. And Ava was sad about that, and I said, Ava, that's not sad, that's amazing. And I think that what you need to take from that is that this is the first time, even though my mom was a big hippie back in the day, she was a groovy chick in the 70s, and then became a Reagan Republican through the 80s. And then 2016 happened, and Donald Trump got the nomination, and the world went to hell. And she really started to do what a lot of us did, which was re-examine our own political alignment. And this is the first protest that she's ever been to in her 70 years. And it was great that she was there to stand up for democracy, and that she was able to take the lessons that she learned in her childhood, because that's just how history works. Things are cyclical. Sometimes things are really shitty, and it requires people to stand up to the moment. And as dark as it is right now, there's still hope. And people ask, what does protesting do? You've got people out there dressed like frogs and unicorns, and they're laughing and smiling, and you're making funny signs. Well, that joy is an act of resistance. And The point is that this is a growing movement. So it's not the only thing. There are absolutely other things we can and should be doing to push back on this administration, but it is absolutely a powerful symbol. Every single time they have more and more and more people. And this time it was the biggest one-day protest in American history. And if they weren't intimidated about that, you would not see so much effort to try to make voting harder and to be more discouraging of people coming out to the polls. And you wouldn't be seeing all of these people suddenly deciding that they're not going to run for office again. They're scared. And we do have power, and some people are not going to want to go because they don't feel safe. And I respect that. But if you have been on the fence about it, the next time that there is a No Kings event, I highly encourage you to go out. It may just be the shot in the arm that you need to remember that you are not alone, that there are a lot more of us than you think out there.
Awesome. Well, podcast recommendations for me. Daredevil is back, and Mark and Steve are covering it over on Panels to Pixels. They just released their coverage of the first episode, so please check them out. And for TV recommendations, Imperfect Women on Apple TV Plus, starring Elizabeth Moss, Kerry Washington, and Kate Mara. Great show so far. Really enjoying it.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episode 12 of season 2 of The Pit. We will be back next week to cover episode 13. Oh, unlucky 13. Titled 7 p.m. Our interview with the talented Mara Klein, who played Debbie Cohen this season, is out. Please give that a listen and stay tuned for more interviews to come.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will leave you with a quote from Dwight D. Eisenhower. A people that values its privileges above its principles soon loses both. I'm Becky.
Still Mandy.
And I'm Penny.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight.
Bye.
June.